The moment I walked into the private dining room, I knew this wasn't the lunch my mother promised. The lights were too bright. A stack of legal documents sat in the middle, next to a pen that wasn't mine. A man in a suit, laptop open, eyes on me. My mom smiled. "We need to discuss what's fair after your father's passing." I'm Natalie, 29, and I know an ambush. The stranger was her lawyer. The papers? Drafted to redistribute my inheritance so everyone could share. When I refused, the smiles disappeared. They talked about court, about ruining my credit. I looked around the table, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. "You're a lot of people," I said quietly. Then I smiled. Funny thing is, I only brought one person too. If you want to know who walked in and how this became my mother's worst mistake, stay with me. I wasn't always the girl sitting across from lawyers, counting people like chess pieces. For most of my life, I was just a kid from Portland who thought family meant movie nights and inside jokes. My dad, Thomas, was a programmer at a startup, the kind of guy who drove a 15-year-old Camry and packed leftovers for lunch. My mom, Katherine, hated that. She wanted the lifestyle, the Instagram perfect life, the house that made neighbors jealous. When I was 16, the gap between them finally split open. I remember the night they sat me down. Dad had bank statements spread across the table. Mom had Pinterest boards of vacation homes on her tablet. "I'm tired of just getting by," she said. "I'm tired of pretending we can afford a life we don't have," he replied. Oregon isn't a community property state like California, but the divorce still split everything down the middle. Mom saw it as freedom to finally upgrade. Dad saw it as losing half of what he'd built, and still owing alimony. After the divorce, I stayed with Dad in a small apartment near downtown Portland. Nothing fancy, but we could walk to Pal's bookstore on weekends. Friday nights, we'd order Thai food and watch terrible sci-fi movies. He taught me about 401ks and credit scores and why compound interest mattered more than designer bags. "People get obsessed with looking successful," he'd say, "but they go to bed with the same problems." Mom, meanwhile, moved to Lake Oswego, married Gregory, a real estate broker who specialized in luxury homes. Suddenly, her Facebook was full of wine tastings and backyard parties. She had 2 new kids in her life now, Sophia and Liam. They all wore matching outfits and holiday photos. I was technically still her daughter, but I felt like a guest star in the perfect family she was building. Every time I scrolled past her posts, it was the same. So blessed, living my best life. I was never in the pictures. She didn't call to ask about school. She called to brag about Sophia's volleyball tournaments or Liam's debate awards. The only time my name came up? When she complained to Dad about money. Dad would come home from those calls looking tired, but he'd bounce back, make popcorn, put on a movie. On weekends, we hiked the gorge or drove to the coast. At night, when I worried I'd caused the divorce, he'd sit on the edge of my bed. "You don't owe anyone your future just because you share their last name," he'd say. "Build something real, something that belongs to you." I didn't know he was quietly meeting with an estate attorney, updating paperwork, making sure that if anything happened to him, I wouldn't be at my mother's mercy. Then came the accident. A rainy Tuesday night, Dad was driving home from work. A drunk driver crossed the center line on Highway 26. By the time the state trooper called me, Dad was already gone. The funeral was small. A few co-workers, neighbors from our building, me. trying to breathe through the pain. Mom showed up in black like a movie widow, Gregory at her side, Sophia and Liam trailing behind like props. She cried loudly, hugged people she hadn't spoken to in years, told everyone how heartbroken she was. I stood by Dad's urn thinking, you didn't love this man. You loved the life he couldn't give you. After the service, a woman in a navy blazer approached me. She introduced herself as Elena, Dad's estate attorney. We sat outside on a bench. She explained Dad had been thorough. He'd updated his will multiple times after the divorce. Everything, the retirement accounts, the investments, the life insurance, came to me. Your father was concerned, Elena said carefully, about potential pressure from your mother. She walked me through Oregon probate, how the court would validate the will, how no one could challenge it without legitimate grounds. Your father was very clear, she said. He wanted you to have control of your future. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom, long paragraph about needing to talk and what your father would want and handling this like a family. At first, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. I said we could talk after probate was finalized, that Dad had an attorney. She ignored that part. Asked for rough estimates. How much? What accounts? When could we discuss numbers? The guilt trip started fast. I raised you. Do you know how expensive those teenage years were? Sophia and Liam need help with college. Always the same phrase. You have to think about the family. I forwarded everything to Elena. She told me not to engage, not to give numbers, not to make promises. Your mother is building a case, Elena warned. Document everything. Don't meet her alone. For months, Mom kept pushing. Voicemails about how selfish I was being. Texts about how Dad would be ashamed. Hints that if I didn't cooperate, she'd make probate very complicated. Elena helped me prepare. We collected every message, every guilt trip, every veiled threat, put it all in a folder with dates and summaries. Then came the text about lunch. Let's meet somewhere neutral, Mom wrote. Just family. We need to talk. I showed Elena. She said, don't go alone. We made a plan. I'd go in first, see who was there, see what they wanted. Elena would wait nearby. I'd text her when to come in. The restaurant was the kind of place with jazz playing softly and water glasses that never emptied. A hostess led me to the back, to a room marked private. I stepped inside. Mom sat at the head of the table, black blouse, perfect posture, like she was chairing a board meeting. Gregory sat next to her in an expensive blazer. Sophia and Liam were there too, and across from them, a man in a gray suit with a laptop. No menus, just water, papers, and a pen. Natalie, you made it, Mom said brightly. We just want to talk. The man stood, introduced himself as Daniel, an attorney helping the family explore options regarding your father's estate. The way he said family made it sound like we'd all lost the same thing. I sat slowly. The top paper had my name on it, legal language everywhere. Redistribution, voluntary agreement, irrevocable. Before you panic, Mom said, leaning forward with practiced sympathy. We just want to make sure everyone's provided for. Your father's will didn't consider reality. She gestured to Sophia and Liam. College is expensive. Life is expensive. This is about fairness. Daniel explained the document was a family settlement agreement that would let me transfer a reasonable portion into a shared trust. Reasonable, according to the numbers, meant 65%. No one's trying to take anything, Mom added, which was almost funny considering the contract literally existed to take from me. We just don't want a long, ugly legal fight. That could hurt your credit, your future. I thought about Dad sitting on my bed, telling me I didn't owe anyone my future. So, I said carefully, if I don't sign, what happens? The temperature dropped. Gregory shifted. Sophia stared at the table. Liam looked at his phone like he wanted to disappear. Daniel folded his hands. Then this could become complicated. Your mother could contest certain aspects. Delays, legal fees, public records. It might impact your credit. Mom jumped in, voice tightening. We're giving you a chance to show you care. Sophia's applying to colleges. Liam has his whole future. We're asking you to do the right thing. I looked at each of them. The lawyer, Gregory, two teenagers who'd grown up thinking I was a footnote, and my mother, who could cry on command. How many of you are there? I asked softly. Mom frowned. What does that have to do with anything? I counted slowly. 1, nodded at Mom. 2, Gregory. 3, 4, Sophia and Liam. Paused on Daniel. 5. You're a lot of people, I said, meeting Mom's eyes. Confusion flickered across her face. You're right, I said. This isn't a joke. I pulled out my phone, tapped a single word I'd already typed, set it face down next to the untouched pen. Funny thing is, I added, I only brought one person, too. A knock sounded, sharp, precise. The door opened. Elena stepped in, navy blazer, folder in hand, calm smile. Hi, Katherine, she said politely. I hear you wanted to discuss Natalie's inheritance. Mom went stiff, walked out without a word. Gregory at her elbow. Daniel mumbling about revisiting options. Elena and I stayed. She told me I'd handled it exactly right, that I had every legal right to say no, that if Mom tried anything else, we'd deal with it. For 3 days, my phone was quiet. Then the messages started again, colder this time. Disappointed. Your father would be ashamed. Money has changed you. Hints that if I kept being stubborn, things might get complicated with accounts and paperwork. I forwarded everything to Elena. She told me to keep records, don't respond. Then she added something that made my stomach twist. If she can't move you emotionally, she might try to move you financially. That night, I changed every password, turned on 2-factor authentication, security questions, froze my credit. Dad used to say, your data is worth more than cash. I never felt the weight of that until I was clicking through settings with my heart pounding. A few days later, I got an email. Looked exactly like my bank's emails. Same logo, same colors. Important action required. The only reason I paused, the timing felt wrong. I hovered over the link. The URL was close, but not quite right. I called the bank directly. They confirmed they hadn't sent any emails. There had been a failed login attempt on my investment account. The representative helped me lock everything down, told me to file a police report. I sat in my living room, Netflix paused, explaining to a detective that my mother might be trying to hack into my inheritance. He suggested I also file with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. I did. Attached screenshots, emails, banknotes about failed logins. Elena reviewed everything. "If this escalates," she said, "you'll want a clear trail." Next, I ordered security cameras, Ring doorbell, 2 outdoor cameras, installed them myself. For a while, nothing happened, just mail carriers and neighbors. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, my phone buzzed. Ring alert. Someone was in front of my building. I recognized the car, Gregory's SUV. I turned off my Zoom camera, pretended connection issues, opened the live feed. Ling, engine idling, engine idling. The second camera showed Mom, phone to her ear, glancing around. My heart pounded. Then my banking app pinged. Unrecognized device attempting to access your account. Mom at my mailbox, Gregory in his car with a laptop, my account being attacked. The coordinates lined up. I hit screen record, let it run. Later, I pulled the bank logs. Timestamps matched the Ring footage, down to the minute. I sent everything to Elena. She called, voice sharper than I'd ever heard. "This isn't harassment anymore. This is identity theft. They're breaking the law." The next day, we filed a formal police report, updated the FBI complaint. It felt like crossing a line I could never uncross, but I kept seeing Mom at my mailbox, Gregory hiding in his car. Whatever this was, it stopped being family drama the moment they tried to steal my inheritance by pretending to be me. For the first time, I had something they couldn't spin. Hard, ugly, digital proof. The courtroom felt heavier than I expected, all polished wood and cold air. I sat next to Elena, hands wrapped around cold coffee. Across the room, Mom sat next to Gregory. Hair perfect, makeup perfect, outfit chosen to scream responsible citizen. Their new lawyer was older, more polished. When the judge walked in, everyone stood. My knees wobbled. The prosecutor laid it out calmly. Attempted identity theft, fraudulent emails, coordinated behavior captured on video and digital logs. They played the Ring footage on a screen. My mom at my mailbox, Gregory in his car. The bank's failed login alert timestamped to match. Their lawyer tried to spin it. Misunderstanding, concern for family, no malicious intent. But the evidence was too clean, too time-stamped, too deliberate. The judge found Mom and Gregory guilty. Identity theft, fraud. He didn't send them to prison. He did something that hurt longer. Heavy fines, tens of thousands, plus restitution for my legal costs. Probation, meaning every financial move they made for years would be watched. A program on financial crimes, and a restraining order, barring them from contacting me for 5 years. He also referred Gregory's real estate license to the licensing board. I saw the moment Gregory understood. His shoulders sagged. No license, no luxury listings, no commissions to fund the lifestyle Mom had curated. Afterward, there were no dramatic screams. Mom just stood there, staring at the floor, her carefully arranged life crumbling. I walked past her without stopping, not to be cruel, but because there was nothing left to say. For the first time since Dad died, the ground under my feet felt like mine again. In the weeks after, life didn't transform magically, but the silence in my apartment felt like peace. I woke up without checking my phone in panic. The only notifications were Slack pings and Amazon deliveries. Elena helped me go through everything Dad left. We shifted stocks into index funds, set up an emergency fund, created a retirement plan. Instead of feeling guilty opening my banking app, I felt capable. I kept my job, kept working remote. Some mornings, I'd sit at the table where Dad used to sit with his coffee and printed code. It hurt, but in a clean way, like a scar that had healed. Therapy helped with the rest. I found a counselor who didn't flinch when I said, "My mom tried to steal my inheritance." We talked about boundaries, about how family is supposed to protect you, not burn you for parts. Slowly, the knot in my chest loosened. I'd spent years trying to earn a place in a version of family that never included me. Losing that fantasy hurt less than I thought. Mom's consequences did what they were supposed to. The fines forced her to sell the big house. Gregory's license issues meant fewer deals. Their Instagram feed slowed, shifted to vague quotes about starting over. The restraining order kept them out of my inbox, away from my door. Sophia and Liam never reached out. Maybe one day they'll understand. Maybe they'll hate me. Either way, that choice is theirs. People sometimes say, "But she's still your mother," like biology is a moral shield. What I learned? Shared DNA doesn't give anyone the right to your future. Love is proven in how people protect you when it's inconvenient, not in how loudly they say family when money's on the table. Dad's real inheritance wasn't the accounts. It was the spreadsheet he taught me to read, the credit score he told me to guard, the courage to walk into a room full of people who wanted everything and say no. If you're sitting there right now with a knot in your stomach, watching someone you love try to twist loyalty into leverage, hear this clearly. You're not selfish for protecting what's yours. You're not cruel for setting boundaries. You're not a bad daughter or son for refusing to be scammed by someone who happens to share your last name. The most important thing you own is your ability to say no. This stops here. My mom tricked me into a meeting thinking she could threaten me into handing over my inheritance. What she didn't count on? Dad had already given me something worth more than every dollar she chased. The knowledge that real family protects your future. They don't try to steal it.